building websites for people, and mainly got folks off Craigslist, and that was how I really started my business. And that, yeah, 10 years ago, now it's 2015, here I am, and I have lots of wonderful clients to thank for keeping me afloat. Since those 10 years, we started adding web hosting to the business. We've now doing a lot of training. I have a small virtual team of people that help me do all these things, as I'm more the project manager and the trainer, not so much the builder. Which keeps me sane, because we try to do it all. As most of you guys know, you will just lose sleep and your life will fall apart, and you don't want to do that. So anyway, here I am today, and now I'm excited to teach you guys what I know about WordPress. WordPress has been around for a while, and it's a great open source tool, as many as you know. And let's get started. So like Andrea said, we're going to talk about how to post a video, how to change and edit photos, how to add a newsletter sign-up form, and how to manage and display events. So let's start with the video, since it's a little easier. And it's always nice to show a cat on the internet, because that's mostly what's on the internet these days, is cats, right? So so let's talk a little bit about having your video and where you should put it. A lot of people come to me and say, oh, I want to put my videos on my WordPress site. How, just add them to my web hosting? And I'm like, no, please don't do that, because your video is a pretty large file. And if you have a popular video one day and you're going to have all this bandwidth, all this traffic hit your web hosting, you're a good chance, and many of you probably are on shared web hosting, which means you only have so much space and so much bandwidth. Well, there's a good chance you're going to crash and go down. And that would be really sad, to have your website just be down because of one little video. And it'll just hog a lot of your web hosting space. So it's always a really good idea to host on a video platform such as YouTube and Vimeo. Those are both like the better ones to use. So all is, before you want to try to have your video be on your WordPress site, is make sure you have the video uploaded to something like YouTube right here. And then what you want to do is you'll go into, this is just my own YouTube. I scrolled down and saved you from looking at all my daughter's videos, because that's all I have on YouTube right now. There's a part that says share, and so now you can copy this URL right here and put that into your WordPress site. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. But I also want to mention, this technology right here is only applicable to WordPress 2.9. So most people have that version, but if you don't, then you have to use the old embed version, which me and Andrea were talking about was just a nightmare. You'd copy this code and put it into WordPress, and you wouldn't always know if it worked or not. So what I'm showing you today is just amazing, and it's pretty tried and true, and it usually works. So what you'll do is you'll just copy this code, and you go into like a post or a page in your WordPress, and you'll just want to put it in the visual tab, which is usually what most people are working in anyway. And then hit the preview over here. Move this so I can see what I'm doing. Hit the preview over here, and make sure it's what you want. It's the right video and everything like that. And then once you're ready, hit submit or hit publish, and you're done. And that's really the simplest way to do a video. And that could be applied to, hold on a second. That could be applied to anything that uses that type of technology, which Flickr, images, podcasts. Podcasts are becoming really big. You can embed a podcast. You can, grab a, Instagram where it has some kind of technology that lets you do that. Hulu does with their videos. So it's not just, YouTube. It's like this whole gamut of things you can embed in your pages or your posts. So it's really cool that it's gotten a lot easier with the latest versions of WordPress to do that. Are there any questions about this, or should I go ahead and talk about the images part?
Yes, I don't see any questions from the audience, but I'm just really excited how these types of edits are getting easier and easier, and it's just becoming so much more accessible to take care of your own website. It's really great.
Yeah, so that's probably the easiest thing I'll show you today. That's pretty doable. And so the next one is to change or edit a photo. And so first I want to point out is, a lot of people will tell me, oh, I went to WordPress's image editor and I edited this photo and then something happened. And I'm like, yeah, it's happened to me too. I don't trust WordPress's image editor very much. I mean, they've gotten better over the years, definitely much improved, but it's still, I still don't feel like it does what I want it to. I will crop something and then I'll upload it later, and it just looks like I didn't crop it. So I just said, okay, I'm not gonna use it for that. So I have these alternative things I use, and you can always use like Paint or Photoshop, but maybe you don't have those programs. So I stumbled upon this really cool online, like using your browser, called Pixlr. And it's funny, even since I took this screenshot, they've changed their interface, so it's going to look a little different from what I'm showing you. But it's just called the Pixlr Editor right here on that left-hand side. You just go in here and oops. The launch web app, and it just within your browser you can go ahead and edit images. It's really powerful, and it's really great. It's very important to try to edit your images before you put them into WordPress, because I bet most of your images coming in are raw. They're huge, they're off your camera, you're off your iPhone or something like that. So some good rule of thumb I use to tell clients is you want to have like 600 width as far as pixels go for your images if you're going to be using it for like a blog post, for example. The only time you're really going to use really wide images is if you have a slider, and that's when most of those sliders require probably 900 to 1,000 or more. That's the only time you really need a wide image, but generally you want to have like 600 width pixels or less. And so it's really nice to be able to do that in this program called Pixlr. You just open up the file like you would in like any other program, and then as you save it, or I think it's under image, it lets you change this image size, and it's really simple. And then if you want something else to keep in mind is you want to keep in mind is the kilobyte size of the images. And so the rule of thumb, I just read this off of WordPress, is they want you to have between 100 to 60 kilobytes per image, and even smaller for thumbnails, but that's something you don't have to worry about too much. It's just the image itself. So Pixlr makes it really easy. You just save the image as a JPEG, and you can change the quality, and that'll let you, as you can see in that corner, see how big the file will be. So you can get it down to under 100 kilobytes pretty easily. And then you can upload those photos and know that at least you're starting out with something solid that's not going to be a disaster. And what happens is you'll go and if you do have a large photo or a really heavy photo and you try to upload it in the WordPress media gallery or library, it'll reject it and say, oh, this is too large. And so that's when you need to use something like Pixlr. And so I don't know if many of you had a chance to play around the WordPress media library, but this is basically the first page that you'll see when you go in there, and you can either upload one file or you can upload many at a time. It's gotten really easy to use. And so these are the kind of things I'm going to show you today that I've noticed during trainings with my own clients that they're surprised that they never really noticed before. They're like, oh wow, I could do this. So hopefully that'll be kind of eye-opening for you guys too. So let's say you uploaded this photo. We uploaded this photo of the yoga session right here. As soon as you do that, you're given the settings over here that you can adjust, and before you even add it to your blog post or your page. And so you have the alignment to play with. You can link this image to a URL, so maybe it's linked to an event or something else that you're coordinating with. And then you have control over the size, and and here you're given thumbnail, medium, large, full size. And I usually tend to go even more medium for blog posts, because you just don't want that to slow down the loading of the page. You don't want your image to just be like just causing that page to load really slow for your audience. They only have like a very tiny attention span, so the smaller the better. So yeah, I think that medium's usually a good way to go. But you're not all is lost if you maybe you forget this part of the uploading of your image and you're like, oh, whoops, I forgot. Okay, so you still have a few options, and I'll show you how those work out. I think with the most latest version of WordPress, you can actually drag and drop images around in the content, which is amazing. So here's a kind of a funny slide of me trying to capture how that looks like. It's still not perfect, but it does give you kind of, like drag and drop, like the Apple feel of what it's like to move around an image within a blog post. But I think to get more accurate, and this is what I tend to do, is if I'm, it usually takes me a few tries to adjust an image in a blog post for myself. And so once I've added that image to the blog post, I will click on it, and then it pops up this cute little window here that lets you have some options. And here you're seeing the alignment ways of doing it, so like left, center, right. But this little pencil icon, this is where the magic really happens, and it lets you go back and do some really serious editing. And so what we'll do is, what happens when you click on that, you're given this option. Again, you have your display settings, and so you can go back and align it in a different way, or you can change the size. And here you're not, this is just a WordPress default setting. I'm sure they did this for a reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but that you're given, like, just like before, you're giving large, medium, small sizes. You can't adjust it and say I want 350, or I want to be this exact size. That's where playing in something like Pixlr is going to give you that option. You just have to kind of roll with whatever WordPress is going to give you here. And then you have the option to link it as well. But one little trick I like to share is, let's say, how you like to look at a magazine and you don't really want the images and the content to slam up against each other. You want a little breathing room so it just looks nice and pretty. So you can add this it's just a little CSS going on here called margin colon 10 pixels. And that will provide a little bit of a space around that image in particular to let some breathing room happen, so that the content won't be like crowding it out. And so I try to do that every time I add images to a website. And if you're working with a web designer, they can do that universally throughout the site too. You can use ways to make sure every image is treated the same way, and that would save you a lot of time. But if you want to have more control over each image, or if you're just it's just you're not adding a lot of images, this is a nice little tip to know about. And there's other things you can add in here too. You could look up online. I mean, WordPress, you can search WordPress all day long and learn things if you wanted to. It just depends how much time you have. So let's see. I think that pretty much covers the whole adding images and some suggestions I would have. Do you guys have any questions or?
Yeah, one question I see is
Yeah.
if there are other things that you're doing in Pixlr, kind of favorite things you do in Pixlr to make images look more awesome. Like, do you adjust colors? Do you adjust
Yeah.
brightness? What do you do there?
Yeah. Well, if you want, I can this might be fun. I can go there right now. I think I have it open.
Okay, cool.
Let's do that since I think we're doing pretty good on time. You can see that it'll be, yeah, it's a new interface we're seeing here. So it's really, it's a lot nicer than what I just showed you on the slide. Let's see, open image from computer. I usually get a screenshot and play around a lot. So let's see it here. Here's just my own site. Yeah, I mean, it's like a very simple version of Photoshop. You do have the layering ability if you're familiar with layers. So you have all these. You can merge layers. Add a layer mask if you're going to be fancy. There's some filters you can do that are a lot like Photoshop. It's the few limitations I found is where it comes to fonts. You can't play with things as much. So that's a little frustrating, so you definitely have to be just understanding like that. But as far as, you have a lot of these tools on the sidebar here that are fun, that are very similar to WordPress, like smudging and paint brushes, pencil. There's some shape tools I like to use. That's what I use these to highlight things throughout the slides. You can play with opacity. For being free, it's awesome, but you have to just understand that, you have to have a knowledge base. It's good to have like a little Photoshop 101 before maybe using this beyond what I showed you guys today is what I'd recommend. Having understanding of layers and how to use filters the right way so you can wow with things. But another alternative is Canva. If you wanted to make really cool, I don't know if you guys know about this one, but this is,
Yeah, I like it a lot.
yeah, you can, okay, log in. This is a great tool that you can use to, oh, see, isn't that nice? Look at that fancy little work there. You can use this to make some amazing presentation, like ebook covers. I mean, this is just amazing what they're doing here, and they're just getting bigger and better in how they do it, and they have all these tutorials. So if you're wanting to have that amazing blog header, or even for social media, this is the place to go. I feel like that's letting people have these amazing image skills that never were even possible before because they're just combining amazing font and amazing colors and images and bam, here you go. So I would almost go this direction if you're wanting to just make some really interesting marketing material. But
Mhm.
I will digress if I keep talking about this. So I'll keep back on track and get us on schedule here.
Yeah. Yeah, but I
Um,
think what you bring up is a really good point, just to stress that there are all these tutorials out there, and you
mhm.
can Google almost anything that you want to do in WordPress or in Wix or in Weebly. Probably somebody has already figured it out. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
confidence part, or what helped me in the very beginning, is just to know that there's this little preview function, and I can try out almost anything on a page, preview it, and if I don't
Hmm.
like it, just run away, and none of these changes will take effect, and it's all good. So, really, I can't break anything just by trying out a couple of these things that you're showing today, or making a graphic and popping it
Exactly.
in and
Yeah.
seeing how I like it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good, Andrew, to point out that this is all can be previewed. There's no final version until you say so. So that's such a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
It's just like publishing a magazine, it's good to think about, having different versions available. And that's what WordPress allows you to do. You can create a page that, you're not too sure about it. You're still working on the content, but you can still have it. You can even have it in private mode and share it with someone. There's different ways to do that. So it's the sky's the limit. You just have to be creative about how you want to go about creating something if you don't have all the pieces. Like if you're working, so somebody working on the images for you, and you're working on content, and somebody's editing the content. You can have an evolving organic piece on that WordPress site, and nobody even know because of how you manage that. So it's totally
Mm.
possible.
Yeah,
Um,
great.
is there any more questions about images, or should I go ahead and start talking about the newsletter?
Let's do the newsletter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more in depth, so I'll spend some time on that. So, talk about newsletters. This is just an example of one I saw that looks pretty nice that I think a lot of people are wanting these days is just to have something, either in the header, like Green Lake Nutrition's done, or on the sidebar. And so, I'm going to be teaching you how to do like a MailChimp connection. So using MailChimp there's a MailChimp plugin that allows you to talk to your MailChimp to be able to create a form like that. But this is applicable, like Andrew's saying, to different email marketing platforms such as Constant Contact or what's another one? Emma. They all have plugins that can work with WordPress, and I'm sure that there's plugins or whatever Squarespace calls them that will work with MailChimp in the same one. So this is what I'm showing you is somewhat universal. It just gets down to the nitty-gritty settings and details that'll probably be different. But I like MailChimp. I've been using it for probably 7 years, and there's such great things about it. I think uh, up to 1,000 subscribers, and it's free. So I don't think I'll be hitting that anytime soon. I only have a hand, maybe 100 if that. And then the tutorials are great, and they have a great sense of humor. The people that do Mailchimp are just really funny and goofy. And if you watch their social media, you're just like, okay, they get it. They're pretty. They're in it for the long haul, but they treat their customers well. They treat their employees well. So I really like working with them, and I tend to just been going down that route. And so now I'm starting to do trainings with people with their Mailchimp to help them learn how to use it better. So so let's start with plugins because that's the easiest way to connect with MailChimp. And I want to talk a little bit about plugins because I think that could be an intimidating term for people. But it's basically just a way to add functionality because WordPress in itself is trying to be a streamlined piece of software that out of the box you can use. And so each plugin you add to your WordPress site gives it this special functionality. And the most common plugins you'll see are contact forms, like you see here, like basically what I'm showing you in my plugins list. Your floating social bar, which your social media icons. I have a Facebook plugin I use. I have a slider plugin I use. So just think about it as, you have this really, you have what is it, maybe even a car, and like a really basic car, and you want to upgrade it, and so you're taking it to the shop, and you're like, oh, I want to add these things, I want to make it go faster, I want to make it do this, I want it to go down the block in 60 seconds or whatever. I I think it's a good way to think about plugins because it just enhances whatever you have to begin with. But there is, with great power comes great responsibility. So you need to make sure when you add plugins, two things I would note is one, make sure that the reviews for the plugin are good, because what we're going to see here when you search for a plugin is there's it's like the Amazon system. They have stars, and so it allows you to see if people like them or not. And some don't have a lot of stars, and that's kind of a red flag that you maybe should think twice about using it. And then, of course, this very important other aspect is how often it's been updated. As you can see in this slide, this one has been updated 8 months ago, the one on the left, and then, oh wow, this other one, Subscribe Forums, has been updated 4 hours ago. Well, that's a lot more attractive, and it has more stars. So be sure to do your research before you just grab any plugin, because that, going back to, WordPress is an open source software, and the ability to, that's why it gets hacked into sometimes, because it's there's these little open doors. If you don't update your plugin, or you have an outdated plugin, that's one way people can get in. I've seen it happen multiple times, and you got to be careful with that. And that's why it's so important to keep your WordPress updated. And if you can't do it, hire someone to do it, because that is a surefire way. Not so much hacking even, but just for your website, just to have problems, because sometimes plugins cancel each other out. So it's just a lot of, it's like maintaining a car. You can't just let it keep running without taking it to the shop sometimes, because it will crash, and you'll run out of oil or something like that. So we're going to use MailChimp for WordPress is the plugin we're going to focus on today. And right now you can see that it says update now because I'm using it, but it would say install now if you were going to use it for the first time, and that's what you click there to get that going. And then you'll be taken to a screen like this, and then basically it installs a plugin in like less than a minute, and then you're given the option to activate plugin, which is pretty simple. You click on that, and then what happens with the plugin is many times it's brought into the screen, like to the left-hand sidebar within WordPress to use, and that's where that MailChimp plugin will go right here, as you can see. And so the first thing you want to do is make sure that MailChimp and your WordPress website are talking to each other, and that requires an API key. And so they make it really easy. I know API keys could sound intimidating and scary, but they don't have to be. So what you'll do is you'll just go into this plugin here, and this will be the first page you see, and you'll hit get your API key here. You click on that, and then it'll take you to your MailChimp settings, and you'll be able to log into MailChimp, and then it'll take you directly to this page that says, oh, here's your API keys. And you're going to generally not have any set up. I have some already set up because I've been using MailChimp for a long time, but you'll be able to just create your own key here and easily copy and paste it back into this page here, and then hit Save Changes. And then once you see this green connected, you know that they're talking to each other, and that's great. That's what you want. And so the next step is to create what's going to be part of that form. How you're gonna grab, what information you're gonna grab on that form to make people sign up. And so I'm going to show you this one page. It's basically the last section of this MailChimp plugin called Forms. You can see right down there I got cut off a little bit. But it's a long page, so I'm just going to break it up into a few chunks and help break it down and help it and not be so intimidating, because this stuff I know can be overwhelming if you don't look at it every day. So the first thing you'll do is pick which list you want this form to subscribe to, and I bet most of you are going to have just one list in MailChimp. I have multiple ones because I work with clients on it, and I've been doing it for a long time. So just, don't be overwhelmed that I have, 6 lists there. I use newsletter signups, so that's the one I'm using. That's probably what you should label your MailChimp list if you're going to be doing this, because that's exactly what you're probably doing, is having a newsletter you're having people sign up for, or you're giving away an ebook or something, but you're probably going to have an ongoing communication with your clients that way. And so the next step, this could be a little overwhelming, but I'm going to break it down for you, is basically you have a split screen here. On the left side is all this code, and normally what would happen this is because I already have this set up, but it would be completely blank. And so then you go over to this right-hand side here, add new field, and you want to just make sure you add the most basic information here. And they're saying, email address, first name, last name, and then submit button. So the first thing you'll do is add an email address. There's an asterisk because you have to have an email address for people to sign up if you want them to get this to work. So you'll select that. You go down and make sure it's required field, And then what'll be nice is it'll generate this HTML for you. You don't even have to worry about it. And then click on this button called Add to Form, and it immediately puts it over into that left-hand side. And as you can see, the code I have right there. And then I would recommend just keeping it simple and doing email address, and then having the submit button, do the same thing, and having it generate HTML code and move it over there. So just a heads up, this code you see on mine, it's had the CSS added, it's been stylized. So what you'll have won't be quite the same, because see, I'll show you what the final. Well, actually, hold on, I'll wait a minute and show you the final version. But I just want to let you know that whatever any of these plugins you're going to use, it's going to be a very stripped down version, very simple, very plain Jane. It's not going to be fancy. If you want to add an image, you can do that within this code, but that's where maybe some HTML knowledge might be handy. And if that's not something you're comfortable with, that would be a great time to hire someone to help you with that and make it look prettier. Make a submit button that you're happy with. Make it the right color. Just note that these plugins are just have just very default, so it's very basic. So it's not going to be maybe the prettiest sign-up form you're going to see versus your competition or your competitors, perhaps. But so once you kind of have a sense of what it's good to just go through this process and see what you have, and then you can always go ask for help later. Just even create this as a first good step. But this is really cool. I just want to show you these shortcode forms. I don't know if you've ever seen them in WordPress, but they become really popular in the last couple of years. Let's see, hold on. Okay, you guys can still hear me? I got a notification from, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
all
good.
good.
All right, so, okay, good. So you hit you take this shortcode, and then let me mention about widgets a little bit, because widgets and plugins kind of work together. So a widget is basically a place that within your WordPress website lets you to add content and functionality. And many times it really depends on the theme you have, and I won't go into this too much detail because it gets a little hairy, but you're probably going to have a sidebar and a footer. That's the most common things you'll see with any WordPress theme. And so in this case, and there's all these different widgets that come with WordPress that are just default. They're just there no matter what. And then sometimes when you install plugins, they come with their own widgets. So just to keep it really simple and not be too confusing, we're going to talk about the text widget that's default with WordPress. That's what we're using to create to put this little piece of code to create the WordPress, or to create the email newsletter sign up. So basically, you go over to the side here, you find the text widget, you drag it into the sidebar. It's really cool. It's just all drag and drop. And then you can copy that piece of code, hit submit, hit save, and then you can check out and see how the sidebar looks. And this is what I have right now. And again, like I said, it's the button's been stylized. There's been image added. So it's not your default settings for what you're probably going to see, but it's so nice to have something up, better than nothing. And people are pretty easygoing about it, especially if they want to talk to you and get your email, get your email newsletter. They won't care. So, but again, you can always hire someone to help you with if you get stuck, or if you want help with that HTML part, because I know that can be a little daunting. So okay, I'm going to stop there and see if anyone has any questions.
Yes. So somebody asked how you type in all the HTML code. But really, just to recap, you didn't type that code, right? You can basically ignore the field on the left-hand side that has all the code in it. If you're setting it up for the first time, you just click on email address, basically telling the plugin that you want the email address field to be part of your sign-up form, which makes a lot of sense. And then when you click on it, it automatically generates the code, and you just don't touch it, and there you go.
Right.
So you don't have to create that yourself. And then the shortcode, I really love those, because then I think earlier it was that you had to copy and paste that entire HTML code into your widget.
Yeah,
and that's possible.
You're right.
I mean, you can just copy and paste that, but I think it just leaves a little more room for maybe forgetting one of the characters, or there's a little typo. And the shortcode basically just takes this whole thing, condenses it into this super short thing between the two brackets. And so that just, if you know nothing about code, it just makes it so much easier to confirm that it's correct, because what you see over here is the same as what you see over there.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
point, Andrea. It's less room for mistakes, and
Yeah.
it's just such a much smoother transition between, when you're, especially if you're, let's say, for example, you do have a couple things in your sidebar, so you can easily separate that visually between each thing, so it's not so much, looking at code, if you're not used to it, it's just really intimidating. So that way, it just makes everything so much simpler.
Yeah. We have two more. So one
Yeah.
is if you have to add, if you want to have the newsletter sign up on multiple pages, how to do
Hmm.
that. You just add
Right.
it on
So
different pages.
yeah, so luckily, let's say you have a sidebar. Let's say you have a WordPress theme that basically has a sidebar on every page. That's what's so nice about my site is I have the sidebar on every page. I think, no, not on the homepage, but every other page. So that's a possibility. Or, you know, um, and if maybe like for me, I could put the sign up in the footer, so it's there no matter what, so people will see it. But yeah, it just depends on how your WordPress is set up, as far as um, if you have a sidebar or if you have a header that you want it to be in the header. That could get just more into the details of it, but it's definitely, yeah, it's easy to do that.
Okay. Yeah, so basically you don't have to go to every page on your website and paste that shortcode in. I
Oh,
think that's what
yeah.
these widgets are really for, right? Like you say, like
Yeah,
whenever a
yeah,
page has a sidebar, show this thing. And then
yeah,
so you really
exactly.
copy and paste it in only one place.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yes, those
Okay.
days are over when you have to touch a page multiple times. Oh my God, I tell you, I had nightmares back in the
Yeah.
day doing that. So no, we don't have to do that anymore.
Okay, so
So
and I
yay.
just copy and paste into this one text
Hmm.
widget, and then it's going to be on every page that has a sidebar. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
And cool, that's end of the question list. So let's do the
Okay,
fourth
great.
session
Okay,
and then we'll see what
awesome.
else we got.
Yeah, okay. This is pretty fun because, everyone wants to share their events, and it seems like a very intimidating thing to do, but it doesn't have to be. So, many of you folks like maybe have workshops you want to share on a monthly basis, or you do certifications, or you're doing trainings, or maybe you want to share something that a colleague is doing and you're partnering on, like me and Andrea have done. So I'll show you two different ways to do it because there's multiple ways to skin a cat here, but I'll show you just the ones I know. So the first one is a client of mine, Portland Rebels, and they do a lot of musical events throughout the year. A lot of them mostly are in the holidays, but they were just trying to figure out a way to present that in an easy way to communicate that to all their members. And so, and they're using the sidebar here. We're going to reiterate what we talked about as far as the widgets go. So I'll show you what they did here with their sidebar because I think it's on every page of their website. These announcements? Is they're using the text widget, which is really cool. So here now you can see for them they are adding HTML directly into that text widget, which is fine. You can do that if you're comfortable with it. They have someone that's dedicated to on the website that knows HTML, and they're totally fine with it. So, and they even customize it. As you can see, like, they have things are in green and they have like little dots. It's all pretty, and you know all added into the HTML to make it look that way. So that would be the easiest way if you're not wanting to have too much manipulation, or don't mind updating that manually once a month or something, or having someone help you do that. That's the easiest way to get events up, um, usually with your sidebar usually, because that's the easiest place to see it on the website. I mean, if you put in your footer or your header, that could be a little awkward. So I would probably do the sidebar, and that's nice to have a real life example of that. But if you want something a little bit more complicated, or just a little bit more, you want to have a little more control over it, I'll show you what another client of mine did called Spectrum Advance. They have an institute that does a lot of workshops and certifications for people in the esthetician world. And so my client, Mary, she wanted to have a calendar, and she wanted to have classifications and organization. Like you can basically with this plugin I'm going to show you, you can categorize different workshops and events. You can do a lot of things with it. And one of the more important things for her, is this may not be applicable to what your needs are, is she wants people to pay for the events right away. So it's all this plugin called Sugar Events Calendar has another plugin that works with it that allows you to do payments with it, so people can sign up for the certification, the CPR first aid certification, and pay for it immediately, and it's all on the site. And you can do that with the special PayPal advanced settings that they have now. So this plugin, yeah, it's called Sugar Events Calendar, and you can do the light version of it, which is free, but we recommend usually using the paid, which is only $18 a year, and you get a lot of support and things with that. So let me just kind of list off the things that maybe would be beneficial to using that type of thing. Is you have a reoccurring weekly, monthly, yearly events. So let's say you have things that are always ongoing that you're repeating and redoing. This allows you to keep that managed really well. Like I mentioned, you can have categories, you can have different calendar views. You can just manipulate how these events are presented on your website. And then you can even have like start and end times for these events, which is really nice. So it's even, you can have your own Eventbrite or that type of thing within your website. So it really gives you a lot of control, and even has an archive system too. So yeah, yay for plugins, because they're very powerful and they can do a lot of great stuff. So let me kind of show you a little bit what this looks like from the back end, and why would I convince you to use this versus the other way. So first off, each event is treated like a page or a post in WordPress. It's given its own little section to add, all these little details like your title, your event date, your time, categories. You can make it as detailed or less detailed as you want, but it's pretty powerful. And again, you can treat it like a page. You can, like you see here, she has published ones and private. So you could have like an event maybe 6 months out you're working on inside your WordPress site, and adding images, adding video. You can do a lot of stuff. Let me show you. Like basically, this is add a new event page, and so in this content section, you can add whatever you want. The sky's the limit. You can't do that on the text widget sidebar I showed you earlier. So that's the power of having a plugin like this to manage your events. Is you can, let's say you have a really big, you do some really big stuff and you want it just on your website. You don't want to use Eventbrite or something like that. This gives you the power to do that, which is really great, and the categorization to do that as well. And that you can manipulate how that's shown on your sidebar, different parts of the website. I mean, the sky's the limit. It's really powerful. And again, you can save a draft, like we were talking earlier. You can save a draft of this and have it be, hidden from the public for months if you're working on something big, and then when you're ready to release it, you just publish it, and you have the power to publish it immediately. Or you can go into, like, let me show you guys know what I'm talking about here, but I don't know if you've ever played with this part of WordPress, but you can actually schedule it to, be announced 3 o'clock in the morning. You have that power to, it's like you're scheduling a blog post. These events are exactly the same, and as far as how they're treated within WordPress. So it's really a great tool if you want something beyond just announcing an event. You want to treat it like, this is like, maybe your biggest money maker of the year. This software would let you do that and have control over that. And so I think that's pretty much what I had to share with you guys today. Do you have any other questions or anything else that didn't make sense, or I could help explain better?
Cool. Yeah, one question is about this plugin that you showed versus Eventbrite, and if there's different, like, when would you use what is the question.
Oh, okay. I think it's probably how much investment you have in these
Ah,
events. I think, like for my client, let's go back to her. These certifications she's offering are really crucial to get out there, and so she's, she needs to. I think she has probably, like, she has to have so many people to join, sign up for these certifications, or it's just not going to work out for her. So she's putting a lot of energy into promoting these, and so having her website be the hub for that. And then having that payment option as well, it keeps it all in her business all tied together, and so she's not paying Eventbrite or anybody else extra money for that. She's just all, you're getting a little bit of savings, and then you're getting some web traffic out of that. You're just having it all encompassing coming back to you, which can be very powerful. And it really depends on how many eggs are in your basket when it comes to these events, I think, is what you're looking at. If you're facilitating some pretty big things like she is, then you probably want to invest in your WordPress site and make sure it's done the right way versus just slapping it on the sidebar, which, for her that wouldn't work. It wouldn't look professional. It wouldn't impress her students. They wouldn't want to sign up. So I think it really depends on what kind of events you're doing and how you're doing it. And this is just one plugin I'm showing because I've had experience with it. There's multiple ones out there for sure that other programmers might recommend, and have different types of scalability as far as what they can do. Maybe there's one in between this one and that, just a simple text widget that would work as well. It's just a matter of how much time do you have to research that, and finding the right people that are experts in that too.
Okay, awesome. And then we had one more lined up, and you let me know if that's within the field of things that you want to cover. And it's from Christina, and the question is, SEO explained. If you only want to write minimally, that's a cool word, how to combine the blog with the newsletter for maximum efficiency.
Well, I'm not SEO expert, but I do have colleagues that are, so I could definitely take that offline with her and help her find more of a stronger answer that would help help clarify that, because that's some stuff, hard stuff to figure out. So
yeah, I think where I would start is, I hear that she's not super excited about writing a lot, and so just to know that that's not the only thing, or maybe even the most important thing that you can do to make your website more visible online. I think you can have very short posts on social media, you can have short videos on YouTube. It doesn't have to be on your blog at all. Like, you could even do great with a website that does not have a blog and still be ranked and very visible. So I would probably start by looking more outside your own website, not just what you write, but how you can show up in your ecosystem, so that Google kind of finds its way to your site and realizes that other people find it helpful, other people share it, find it relevant. So I think that's where I would start.
Oh, that's a great suggestion. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Then, well, for everyone who's live on the call, we'll be around for a couple more minutes, so you can type questions in. But really just know that pretty much all the information that you need to dive more into detail here is somewhere out there, and you don't have to do this alone. So this was like one dose of website confidence, and I'm sure there are so many more things that you specifically might want to make happen on your own website. And both Nedra and I are really accessible for these kinds of questions. So I know Nedra offers really awesome WordPress training. So the way that she explains things, I mean, you've gotten a preview of that today. I highly recommend her if there's something specific that you want to accomplish. And then I'm also around, and one place where you can check in with me, and it's on the house, is I host quarterly Google Hangouts, so a similar format to what we're doing right now, but you could see everybody who's on the call. I keep it small to maybe 6-ish or 7 people. So if there is something that you want my eyes on, or you want feedback from the other participants on the call, that would be a good next step. So maybe try out a couple of the things that you learned and then come back. The next one that I'm hosting is July 8th. So all you need to do is email me and say you would like one of those 6 spots, and then I'll send you all the coordinates. Do you have anything coming up or things to share? If people do want more training, what's the best way to connect with you?
Well, next month I'll be celebrating my 10-year anniversary, so I'll have some packages going out,
congratulations.
some special promos. Yeah, so I got to celebrate that. So I'm working on a big promo for that, and I think one of the packages will be some WordPress training at probably like 25% off. So those are really good deals to grab. I've had a lot of success with helping a lot of clients with those, and just it's nice to have it a little bit cheaper if you can. So what the best thing to do is to sign up for my newsletter to know about those announcements, and we're pretty good about giving you a time frame because usually use like a month, give you a month to sign up for those types of things if you want to purchase them, and then they go away, and then I'll have a new promo for the next month. So yeah, it's June's anniversary month. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, congratulations. That's great.
Thanks.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And I don't see any more questions or raised hands right now. So I think all that's left for me is thank you. Like, thank you so much for spending your morning with me and giving our community a little insight into what's possible with WordPress. That's really great. Thank you, Nedra.
Yeah, it was great. It was really fun. Thanks for inviting me, Andrea.
All right. So, everybody, have an awesome rest of your day, and hopefully, we'll hear from you. Feedback, questions, high fives, it's all welcome. So, have a good one and see you soon.